and I've coached a lot of great players. With Venus and Serena, it was different. There was a rage inside these two little kids. What I saw on the inside is why I took the chance, I rolled the dice, and now I'm going, whoa. These two little girls can not only be number one in the world, they can transcend the sport. And the best vacation I ever had in my life officially is Compton, California. My name is Rick Macci. We're at the Rick Macci Tennis Center in Boca Raton, Florida. I teach tennis, but more importantly, I don't just change strokes, I try to change lives. I have people all ages, all levels, whether you're top 10 in the world or an aspiring junior, it really doesn't matter. If they want me to help them, I'm here 7 days a week, and I just love helping people. I've been fortunate to coach some of the best athletes in the world. Venus, Serena, Capriati, Roddick, Sharapova, players who have went on to win Grand Slams or become number one in the world that I work with at a young age, say 9 to 15, which is critical because that's when you really create the environment for them to mature and develop a pro game for the future. Whether they need help biomechanically or mentally or technically or whatever it is, what I do, it's a medley of things just to try to feel the temperature. And I also work with the parents. That's a big part of this, keeping this thing together. I tell them it's very simple. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. It was 1991, May. I remember it just like yesterday. A guy called me, Richard Williams. He said, I'm honored to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. I have two daughters, Venus and Serena. I'd like you to come to Compton. But I never went to see a player. I just decided, what the heck? So I booked a ticket, I went to California. That night, Venus, Serena, Orsine, and Richard come to the hotel room. Richard pulls out a piece of paper and he starts grilling me like I'm in a deposition for 2 hours. He's just like peppering me with these questions. If he was gonna let someone in their circle, he wanted a role model, father figure, someone been there, done that, because he saw what I did with Jennifer. Well, I kind of respected him for doing that. So he said, we're picking you up the next morning. He goes, we're gonna go to East Compton Hills Country Club. So now I start doing drills with Venus and Serena. Arms, legs, hair. They had beads in their hair. They were flying off. So now I'm seeing this, and it was a train wreck. So after about an hour, I say, okay, let's do some competitive points. Once I said, game on, they started popping the popcorn extra crispy. The footwork just became unreal. There was something inside them. They ran so hard, both of them. To get to the ball, they almost fell down. I went to Richard, and I just, right then and there, I said, you got the next female Michael Jordan on your hands, this in the movie. He goes, no, brother, man, I got the next two. And now I'm going, whoa. These two little girls can not only be number one in the world with the right financial backing and coaching, they can transcend the sport. They were gonna bring a different athlete. They changed the whole landscape, and it wasn't one, it was two. And the little one might be better. Whether it took 4 years or 10 years, it didn't matter because I knew where this could go. Once I believe, I don't quit until it happens. They decided in September of '91 to come to the academy, and they came across the country in that motorhome, and we got right into it. Both the girls had their own courts, they had their own hitting partners. They were with me 4 hours a day, and it was all about technical development. Because remember, when you're dealing with athletes, they can improvise. And sometimes there's not a wrong way or a right way, there's a better way. And some of the best coaching I did with Venus, I left it alone. She kind of taught me, because maybe I thought was a liability. I'm thinking, wait a minute, this could be a weapon, especially on her backhand. I think her backhand down the line goes down as the greatest shot in the history of tennis, because you can't read it. It comes out of left field, and it's very different, but her contact point never deviated. They trained right away, starting in September, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, 4 hours on Saturday. And we had grass courts at Greenleaf, because I knew on grass, that would be her calling card with her serve and the way she could run, and it kind of makes you go forward. And she practiced 2 hours a day at age 12 on grass. People don't understand this. I did it as a developmental tool to shorten her backswing, hit it early, come to the net more. A good volley would be great. A bad volley is good. Get her to bend more because she was very tall. She had big swings. In 1992, they did a story in England, Angela Buxton. I said, this little girl someday is going to win 5 Wimbledons. Fast forward 30 years later, she's won 5 Wimbledons. It's the little things in life that make the biggest difference. That's part of that environment that I created for them. It was so positive and so inspiring. I wanted them to play very different. And what they brought to women's tennis was very, very different. They were just kids, and Richard made sure of that. And that's why I love the guy. He goes, I'm going to Disney World. I'm going, well, wait a minute, we got to practice. Oh, wait, we're going to the beach. We're going to the mall. These 2 little kids worked hard, but he kept them kids. They have their whole life. So now you look back through the rearview mirror, well-rounded, educated, crazy successful, you know, and game, set, match, Richard Williams. They had courage. I mean, they were the 2 Compton Comets. I had to kind of pump the brakes and get them to groove and slow down to develop timing. We always said they're going to have 2 of the better serves. They had different throwing motions. Nobody, since I've been doing this, hit more serves after practice than Venus and Serena Williams. Where most people are leaving, they're staying. Instead of maybe getting behind, they were always getting ahead. The biggest thing with both of them at a young age was consistency. Because remember, they had a lot of firepower, they loved to hit the ball hard, and they had to master boring. They have to master boring. You got to hit the ball cross court, 100 times in a row. Cross courts, down the line, you got to hit it to targets. There's a difference between there and right there. In the beginning, it was all about consistency, keeping the ball in play. Then as they got bigger and stronger, it's the quality of the consistency, hitting it harder, maybe being more adventurous, running around more. Like anything else in life, whether it's a house or a tennis game or whatever, if the foundation has cracks, it doesn't hold up under pressure. And when it was all said and done, not only could they keep it in play, they could keep it in play with a lot more mustard. Because I always told them, if you have more mustard, maybe you won't have to catch up. With Serena, it was just more maturation. Serena is 11 and Venus is 12, and it's the middle of July. It's like 110 degrees. Move your feet. She goes, why? She gives me that look. A lot of people have seen that look at the US Open. She had that look even as an 11-year-old. And I go, you say you want to be number 1. She goes, I will be number 1. Venus at a young age was more stick to it. She was more mature. And I think any parent, you can't compare your kids, but one thing Serena had more than any other player I've ever coached, she had more time. She seemed like she had all the time in the world when the ball came. A lot of times when you have time, you look sloppy or there's no urgency. But I saw she had the calmness and she had the intensity. So when those 2 things meet, that's like the ideal performance state. They look at this physicality she has and this rage, and that's the outside. When you're a brutal competitor and you'll run over broken glass to get a ball, and it's not that big a deal, I'm pretty calm. And that separates great from good, and I was right. She went on to become the greatest player ever. You never know when you're ready unless you try it. But I knew she was ready. For tennis, it's called junior development. It's not junior final destination. It's a long-term process. Venus, I knew she was there mentally, but I knew even if she lost or played bad, anybody with eyes, because the eyes evaluate talent. I've never seen anybody run like that, 6 feet tall, with that firepower, and competed like that. How good is this girl gonna be? She had gifts from above that Serena didn't. Next female, Michael Jordan. No one could jump like Venus Williams. And she had a wingspan. She was like a praying mantis at the net. You couldn't pass her. And even when you come to the net, even if you don't volley, you can freak people out. The kid's bulletproof. Her serve was actually better at 14 than when she got older, because biomechanically it changed. I knew how she could serve. I knew how she could run, and I knew the firepower that she had. So I knew she'd compete. I knew she was ready because I saw where she was at. Little V stepped up to the plate, and when she won that match against Stafford, and she's at the net, jumping up and down like a human pogo stick and those beads, that was by far one of the happiest days of my life. After Venus's debut, when she's hibernating at Rick Macci Tennis Academy for 3.5 months, okay, and I get her the wild card into the Bank of the West Classic. People got to understand, we might not even have did that, but in 1994, they changed the age eligibility rule. They called it the Capriati rule, that they weren't going to let you turn pro at 14 anymore. They didn't want these girls burning out or having problems. I told Richard, you got to make a decision. Either she has to turn pro, even though she probably wasn't ready, or you're going to let someone dictate to you 15, 16, 17, limited number of tournaments. He goes, I guess we got to go pro. So I got her the wild card. She hasn't played any matches. All we're doing is training. I get her a wild card, take her to the Bank of the West Classic. The year before, 22 media credentials. This year, 252. It's like Elvis is coming. And this girl's never played. She was legendary and didn't do anything. So to fast forward the story, out of nowhere, she beats 57 in the world, which that in itself is amazing. Almost beats number 1, as you saw in the movie. And I knew right after that, she's gonna get 5, 7, 10, $12 million contract, because she's gonna just go nuclear. People can see she'll be number 1 someday, bring a whole nother audience into tennis. People think I should be like bitter, upset, because at 95, it didn't go. There's no bitterness, because we changed history, and I know what I did. Then to have it come out in a movie and come, and everybody, the whole world knows exactly, what Rick Macci did. If your heart's in the right place, at the end of the day, everything comes full circle.
Watch him hit a few balls. All right. So tell me your names again.
I'm Venus. I'm Serena.
So what'd you think?
When I first saw the film, I talked to John Bernthal a handful of times. They read the book, Macci Macci. So I didn't really know how they were going to tell the story. The first time I saw it here in Boca, I was impressed because it showed how much I cared and how much I was on a mission and I wasn't going to be denied. How Richard and I were in this together, and it's so true, it's amazing.
I think you might just have the next Michael Jordan.
Oh no, brother man. I got me the next too.
I knew early on that I like to help others more than help myself, and I like to analyze things. Here we go. Work the legs. Good. When I was about 22, I got into coaching, and I knew eventually if I really wanted to do this, I had to go to Florida or California. I teach 7 days a week. I just outwork the competition. That's just how I've always been. I love being on the tennis court. It's my living room. None of it seems like work. You might have a system or a methodology when you teach, because everybody's an individual. They come with a different background. They have a different family environment. They're at different stages in their career, and this is what I do. You just gotta feel this, but if anybody treats everybody the same and does the same thing, they're looking at the wrong playbook. Venus and Serena never played really any junior tournaments. So I could say, listen, I got the playbook, let's shut down junior tennis, don't play any tournaments. And I've never been like that. It's not one size fits all, it's not cookie cutter. Here's what your kid needs, and I'm gonna do my best to help them reach their ability. When people come to me, whether they want something technically, because we're pretty much the worldwide leader in biomechanics. My partner, Dr. Brian Gordon, we've been cutting edge in sports science in biomechanics. So for me to do reconstructive surgery, even though I'm not a doctor, I kind of am on the court where bang, in 5 minutes, I not only can put Humpty Dumpty together and correct things, I can reverse engineer it, do it backwards, they're blown away, and correct things and identify the problem. When I evaluate talent, you got to get the style of play. Are they going to be, a baseliner? Are they going to have a big serve? How tall are they going to be? I look at their attributes, their movement. Because if you can move, even if you're nervous, or you're going to be able to hang in there and win matches. I don't play it safe. I teach everybody courage. And that's the wild card in my teaching. You might make a mistake, but it might be a positive mistake. There's certain things, if they want to be a high-level pro, you got to build the game for the future. Andy Roddick's one of my all-time favorite. He wrote the foreword to my book. He came to me at age 9. His backhand was a little shaky. He never had the softest hands, but he had an amazing forehand, back then. And I knew I could make his serve nuclear. His serve was a train wreck. He externally rotated his forearm. He always had a lively arm. Okay, so I knew there was a lot of potential there. Fast forward, he had the biggest serve on the tour with the highest percentage. Andy was like 1 in the nation in the 12s. I think he was 6 in the nation in the 14s. He was 15 in the 16s. He grew 7 inches. At 18, he was number 1 in the world. 2 or 3 years later, he wins the US Open because he got that serve going. I see it differently. I tell everybody, what you may see is very different than Rick may see. I just try to get better every day. I've obviously been fortunate, coached so many great players, a lot of Hall of Fames, a lot of awards. That's the window dressing. When it's all said and done, I'm getting up at 3:30. I'm gonna work 7 days. I'm gonna open up the park. I'm gonna be on the court at 6. And I'd like to do this as long as I can. As long as I have the passion, I just wanna keep not only changing strokes, but changing people's lives.